Hi, and thanks for taking the time to view our video on just how easy it is to set up, deploy, and obtain full network performance monitoring with AppNeta's PathView Cloud solution. I'm Shane, and I'm one of the systems engineers here at AppNeta. And what I'll be detailing for you today in this video is how to set up PathView Cloud with our web configuration method. I'll be walking through the entire setup process, explaining what it is that I'm doing, and finally enabling path monitoring to show you just how easy the process really is. Now through it all, I'll have a clock running next to me. The goal here is to show you that in under 10 minutes, you can have an appliance set up and begin gathering path analysis metrics with our PathView Cloud solution. Now some of you non-believers say it can't be done. I intend to show you not only that it can be done, but that by minute 11, you can be enjoying a cup of coffee while troubleshooting network performance issues. Let's get started. So the first step in the web configuration method is getting your PC to communicate with the appliance itself. So all of our appliances come statically set with an IP address of 192.168.1.1. And on the M30 appliance that we'll be configuring today, that is statically set on port E3. So what I've done is gone ahead and configured my Ethernet adapter on my PC with an IP address of 192.168.1.5. And again, in my internet browser here, I've gone ahead and entered 192.168.1.1. So we've got communication to the appliance itself. Now to log in, the default username is root. And the default password is password. Go ahead and click login. And we'll be in the web browser interface of the M30 appliance. So what we'll do for the configuration method is go ahead and select our initial setup wizard here. And this will walk us through all of the steps that are required to get our appliance online. Now the first thing that you need to do, of course, is set up a new password. Again, for the purposes of the demonstration here, we'll go ahead and skip that step. But you do want to set that. You also want to go ahead and select the correct time zone. We're setting up here in Boston, so we're going to go ahead and use America, New York as Eastern Time. Go ahead and save that. What that's going to do is, again, allow our appliance here to communicate properly with timestamps and timing details within the PathView environment. This does take a minute here for this to get properly set. Once it's saved, we'll go ahead and move to the next screen. Here's where, again, you would go ahead and select the NTP servers that you might utilize for timing purposes. As default, again, we have ntp.ubuntu.com as the time server that we're hitting. If there are others that you want to go ahead and use, you can enter them here. But for the purposes of the demonstration, we'll go ahead and leave that as default. Our time and date, as you can see, is correct here. It's 7th of February 2013, and our time is also correct. Go ahead and hit save and continue. Now here's where you're going to go ahead and enter your hostname for the appliance. We're going to go ahead and select M30-test as our hostname. Go ahead and save and continue. Now if you wanted to specifically set static IPs on the appliance itself, this next screen is where you'd go ahead and do that. Now Ethernet 2 is or E2 as the port is labeled on the appliance itself. That is our DHCP interface, which is what we're going to be using for the configuration today. If you did want to statically set an IP address, you would do that on port E3. Again, for the demonstration, we're going to go ahead and use E2 for our outside communication, so we'll go ahead and hit continue. And for DNS, again, we're going to be grabbing that from our DHCP settings, so we're going to go ahead and select, again, default as being E2 as our for our DNS settings, and that will, again, grab DNS server information and our domain information as well. Go ahead and save and continue that. Now, if you wanted to statically set a route through a firewall, for example, to test either a VPN connection or a secondary connection coming into your office there, you can go ahead and select that setup process here. Again, we don't need to do that. We'll go ahead and hit continue. And then what we need to do is set up our appliance to communicate with the PathView Cloud service. So we're going to go ahead and hit yes here. And what we're going to do is actually go into our service where our appliance is going to be communicating with. We're going to go ahead and select Direct Connect, and then we're going to go ahead and hit Download File. And what that's going to do is actually download a configuration file that we need to apply to our appliance itself. So what we do, we've already got that downloaded. We'll go back to our setup wizard. Go ahead and hit Choose File. That's going to bring us to, again, our all of the file that we need to download here for our setup process. Just got to go ahead and find it here. Ease of deployment, this is it right here. And then we'll go ahead and save and continue, and again, that will apply the file to the appliance. We'll be good to go there. Last but not least is, again, configuring the appliance to connect through a proxy server. We don't need to do that, so we'll go ahead and hit no. Now, again, it's just going ahead and restarting our appliance. So what's going to happen? Our appliance is going to reset. The configuration that we've just applied to the appliance will take hold. And then within a minute or so, we'll be able to actually see our appliance here come up in our environment within PathView. So we'll go ahead and just wait that time here. Appliance has just reset. You can hear the fan just kicked in, so the appliance is booting back up. Then what we'll do is we'll go to the Assign Licenses page here, which would be the next step in the process. And when our appliance does come online and starts communicating with the PathView environment here, and as you can see, it has not yet detected the appliance, so we'll go ahead and give it another shot in just about 30 seconds or so. Again, we'll be able to assign the licenses for path enablement and network configuration monitoring. All right, so our M30 has come up. As you can see here, the host name again, M30 test is good. So we're going to go ahead and select one of the M30 licenses that we have available here. Go ahead and hit next. And again, that's just going to assign the license to our appliance. We're going to go ahead and select our location, which is Boston, Massachusetts. Again, that's where we're testing from. We'll save that to the PathView environment here. We'll go ahead and hit next. And then last but not least is, again, adding the path for testing. So what we're going to do is add just a handful of paths here. What we're going to do is, again, select our appliance for our testing process. And it defaults to our Ethernet 2 as our testing interface. What we'll do is go ahead and hit next. We're going to go out and test to one of Google's services here. So we'll go to 8.8.8.8. Okay, and again, you can either target the IP address or the host name of that service. Go ahead and hit next, and what our appliance now is doing is actually communicating with that IP address, making sure that we can establish a connection for the testing process. And once that finishes, we'll go ahead and move to step 3, which is, again, just customizing the testing settings that we're going to set up here. This process does take a little bit of time just to make sure that, again, we can communicate with that service. Again, any target IP address that you want to reach, either internally within your own environment across the wide area network, or any external resource that you want to target to, can be a target for our testing process here. Some of the customizable settings that we're going to define here: path name. Again, in this case, it's going to be our source name, which is going to be our host name of the appliance. Our target name, which is, again, going to be the Google service, or 8.8.8.8, and the instrumentation. Description is going to be, again, just source location to target location. Business services that we're testing here, again, we're just going to be looking at some general data. That's all we want to know about. But again, if you're testing for specific things like some web sources, web resources within your network environment, voice over IP, if you wanted to test to something like Twitter and look at social media, if it's a CRM that you're utilizing and you want to target out to that, again, you can go ahead and select whichever application fits for the target that you're testing to. And then from an infrastructure standpoint, again, what are you testing through? Is it an MPLS environment? Is it a VPN environment? In this case, we'll be just looking at WAN optimization. A group, we're just going to go ahead and leave that as default, but if there were specific groups that you wanted to categorize your testing through, you can go ahead and add those groups here. From an importance standpoint, again, it's really just how important is this path that you're monitoring here. The network type, we're going to go ahead and set as WAN. Target type we'll leave to auto, QoS we'll leave to none, and then last but not least, we're going to go ahead and select a connectivity option. And that connectivity is just going to be, a service quality definition is going to be, again, what we're testing this path against. So what we've defined here within the WAN service quality definition is that anytime we lose connectivity, anytime our latency is greater than 150 milliseconds, anytime we experience any data loss greater than 3%, anytime we experience any data jitter on this path for greater than 30 milliseconds, we're automatically going to run diagnostic evaluations and further test that network path to understand where exactly that issue is occurring. So now that, again, our customized settings are set, go ahead and hit next. This is just a quick review to make sure that, again, everything is set the way that you want it. Go ahead and add that path. And once the path is set up, which it is now, we're automatically going to start testing that network path. We're going to look at, again, the hop-by-hop analysis. We're going to define for you exactly all of the infrastructure that makes up that network path at layer 3. And then we're going to identify any performance issues that occur or that we can see within that path itself. Again, things like data loss, latency, jitter, round-trip time. These are all things that we're going to automatically test for as part of our testing process here within this network environment. So as you can see, pretty straightforward process from a web admin setup. We've gone ahead, we've configured our appliance to work within our network environment. We've got a path set up and testing. And again, just in under 10 minutes here, we've got our entire solution set up and running, and again, we're monitoring path status within PathView Cloud. There you have it, how to set up AppNeta's PathView Cloud solution using our web configuration method. It's important to note that this method works for all of our appliances. As always, if you have any questions about this or run into any issues at all while setting up your appliance, take a deep breath, start the video over again, and watch carefully. Or contact our support team through the support portal at support.appneta.com. Thanks again for watching, and check back often for future demonstration videos from the AppNeta team.